Off the Track is brought to you by Windsor Park Stud, your first choice for stallions.
Yes, hi and welcome to another Off the Track brought to you by Windsor Park Stud. Of course, Stan, the highly regarded son of Galileo, and Rip Van Winkle. Look out for them as we come into sales time. Well, my guest today, we still like to call him a Kiwi. He is, of course, an Australian Hall of Famer. It is Jim Cassidy. Jimmy, welcome back to New Zealand.
Yeah, good.
Mate, got to say, outstanding jacket. Great choice of jacket.
Oh, look, always a Kiwi at heart, mate.
Yeah, I know that. Hey, listen, the Hall of Fame thing, induction to that, was really the pinnacle of your career, wasn't it, to some extent?
Yeah, look, it's been, it was a great honour to be inducted into the Australian Hall of Fame, and I mean to say it obviously comes through a lot of hard work and the success that I've had over the years, and I've had a good team behind me over a number of years and still got a good team today, so it was a great honour. Yeah,
well, one thing that I have noticed is, aside from your ability as a rider, is there's two things. If people ask me about Jimmy Cassidy, having researched and spoken to the people I have, is that family is very important to you and your loyalty to those you consider to be your friends over the years.
Yeah, well, look, I've been a great believer. It's hard to have good friends in racing in the respect of loyalty, and I class myself as a very loyal person, and obviously I put my family first, my wife Vicky and my mum and dad, and I've got three beautiful daughters, Nicole, Sasha and Piper, and my family, I'm one of seven, and I've been very lucky that myself and Larry, and I followed my older brother's footsteps, Ricky, when he started riding, and I got the bug, and it's followed on through Larry. But look, I think family are important, and you can't do anything on your own without family, I don't believe.
You need that support, don't you?
You need that support through good times and bad, and obviously without mum and dad, the opportunities for me to go to the stables and kick off wouldn't have been there without family. So.
Well, I want to take you right back to the beginning. You are one of seven. I didn't realise that. You're one of seven children. How many boys, girls were there?
4 boys and 3 girls.
3 girls? Yeah. And the three of the boys went into racing. The other brother, Colin, didn't?
Yeah, well, Colin, he didn't go into the racing side of it. He's a bit taller. I don't know where... what do they call him? Gynecologists. I think they pulled him out a bit quick and he stretched him a bit.
Hey, listen, your family, was it involved in racing? We just lived near Trentham or what?
No, Dad always wanted to be a jockey, but he was from a big family also. He was from a family, I think, 10 or 11.
Catholics?
Yeah, pass. But no, look, we got into our rugby, and then Mum and Dad would take us to Trentham or Marsden or Wairarapa, or wherever it was, Hawke's Bay, or wherever a meeting was on. We'd pack up and away we'd go to the race meetings. So that's how it all started.
Talking about rugby, yeah, you were a fair rugby player, people I've spoken to and the things I've read.
Yeah, look, I love me rugby. I played for the Hutt Old Boys in Lower Hutt. And
let me guess, halfback.
Yeah, I played halfback in 5'8". Yeah, look, I love me rugby, and I always had two ambitions, to try and be an All Black or be a jockey, and I'm pleased I went the right way, but I can still wear all the gear and it's still in the heart, and I still follow them. But yeah, look, it was only ever had two things in my mind from school days. Used to take me push bike to school when I had enough. That was out. Gone. Eat your lunch. That was it.
Didn't like it. Yeah, school.
School
wasn't your best friend.
No, well, the only thing I got at school, I remember doing exams, and I think the highest exam mark I got at school was 1 for English. And when I got the paper, I thought, how did I get 1? They said, you spelt your name right.
Good to see that you have made it as you have. Listen, your apprenticeship didn't start with Patrick Campbell, did it?
No, I started off with... the first time we went away to the stables, me and Ricky, we went to L&K at Awapuni. Right. And I was there for 2 weeks, and funny enough, I never seen a horse. I actually thought cows were horses. Because L&K had a lot of, I think he had a bit of a cattle farm at the time, providing with his horses, and everything was getting the cows to learn to suck.
That was your job.
Sucky it was. Yeah, it was quite funny. And then I done 2 weeks up there with my brother Ricky, and went home and said to Mum, I said, Mum, look, I've never seen horses with black and white all over them. I said, I think we better go somewhere else. Yeah. And then I actually went to Peter McLean at Woodville. Yep. Spent a bit of time on and off on school holidays with Peter McLean, and and then went to Patrick Campbell in Hastings.
How did that come out? Because he had Chris McNabb there at the time, or was?
Yeah, he had Chris there at the time.
So how did that association with Patrick Campbell come?
Through the racing conference at the time. Mum and Dad got onto the racing conference and said, look, Jimmy'd like to go somewhere else, not back to Woodville. And they said Patrick was, he had Chris there and was looking for someone else. So that
you went to Hastings Boys High and aided because the headmaster was very keen on racing, and so
he was a great man. I think he's passed away, the late Frank Christ. And once again, I wasn't very good at school there. I used to get kicked out of the class and go straight to the headmaster's office and eat my lunch there and talk racing with him.
I used to sweep the front of the school. Hey, so it all started, you're showing promise, you're a natural. Patrick, I spoke to Patrick, he said you're a natural. But you went, where did you have your first ride, do you remember?
I had my first ride at Wyral.
Yeah.
Patrick used to take a team away to Wyral at the time, and Chris used to, he was the leading boy at the time, and he rode. Yeah, look at me.
Is that you?
Massive haircut, isn't it?
Yes. At least you
I told you not to cut me with a bowl, Mum.
Hey, a lot of interesting story I read about that first day that you got your first ride, because you almost had a ride on another horse.
Yeah, look, I was sitting I said to Patrick, I said, look, can I sit around the jockey's room? I had all my gear there and felt like a jockey, but hadn't had a ride. And I was sitting around the jockey's room, and look, I can't even think of the gentleman that come in. He come in and he said, son, he said, have you got a ride in the next? I said, no, I haven't. I said, I'll ride it. So then I panicked. I thought, shit, I haven't had a ride. I better go and ask the boss if I can ride it. So I run out to the car park where they were in them days, behind the car, having picnics and a few sherbets. And I said to Felix, I said, look, can I ride this horse in the next? He goes, yeah, look, give me a couple of minutes and I'll come back up and check it out. Well, by the time he got there, the chap realised I hadn't had a ride, so he took the colours off me.
But there was a guy who we know very well, Alan Pringle.
Yeah, it was good because I think Alan felt sorry for me. I was that excited and going to have my first ride, and when the chap said, look, you can't ride it, you haven't had a ride, I'll put someone else on it. Alan came up and said, look, I got one in the last race, which was a non-tote race after the last at Wyral, and he threw me on that, and it was Ruhini Lass. And
never forget your first day.
Oh, no, that was it was a great day, that.
The interesting thing, which I found out, which I didn't and hadn't been written up, it took you a long time to win your first race.
Yeah, I think
Patrick said about 60 odd rides.
Yeah, well, I think it was about 66 or 67 rides. And I remember I used to ride a horse called El Dante for Don Selwood, and he was a sprinter and just used to jump and run. And I obviously had a 4.5 kilo claim then, and I think I got beat on him 6 times a nose. And then it come back to Hastings, I think August 78. Rode my first winner for Patrick, which was great, and his dad, a horse called Tarleton.
He was a good horse too, eh?
Yeah, he was a great horse.
Just beaten in the Hawke's Bay Cup?
Yeah, I just got beaten in the Hawke's Bay Cup, and then I won a Wyral Cup on him, which was a great thrill, going back a couple of years later where I kicked off.
Just bloomed. Your career boomed, didn't it, after that? I mean...
Yeah, well, it was great being with Patrick because Chris was getting heavy towards the end of his career, and obviously having the 4.5 kilo claim, Charlie Cameron and Hastings and Don Selwood, and then trainers were giving me opportunities with the 4.5 claim and got the ball rolling. So
financially, it can't have been very rewarding, but I tell you, we've got footage of you driving a car here that takes a little bit more than $18.50. Have a look at this. You can hardly reach the pedals, I say.
I sat on a couple of cushions.
I love the guy with the white coat.
Oh, isn't he beautiful?
Here you go. Look at that. Full head of hair.
And here's handbrake. Have a look at handbrake.
Got the moustache. PI Magnum hair.
PI Magnum. Great footage.
Yeah, it was great. We found it. Hey, listen, 81-82 season, you won the Jockey premiership here in New Zealand, but it came right down to the wire, you and David Peake.
Yeah, look, that was a great season, and once again, I couldn't do it on my own. Patrick was great, and obviously Noel Eels and all the trainers I had supporting me, and Rogie was great because he flew me from one end of New Zealand to the other. I think I rode in Auckland, and I didn't ride in Auckland a lot up there around the top end, and Rogie flew me to Invercargill, Christchurch. He took me everywhere to try and get them winners, and then come down the last day, I think I started off 3 in front, and
he won 3 at Waipar.
Peaky won 3 at Waipar, and I was having a bad day. I think I rode 4 or 5, 6 favourites. I had 8 rides, and they all got beaten, and come the last, I was on Ruahine Lad or Raywood Lad, I think it was called.
Yeah, Lord Raywood.
Lord Raywood. I was getting close.
Yeah.
For Evan Rayner, and I think he drew the outside in a 2,000 metre race, and I thought, I'll take the bull by the horns here, and straight to the lead, and he won. So. Yeah, it was a great thrill to win that premiership.
Great stuff. You actually ended your apprenticeship outriding Brent Thompson. You had 380 winners or whatever, and you ended up with 387, champion.
Yeah, look, that was a great thrill because, Brent was, I think Chris was sort of my idol growing up, watching him and obviously the great Bill Skelton and them sort of Morris Campbell and them great jockeys we had here in that era. And look, it was a marvellous thrill to be able to do it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're building up to the horse, as people know, Kiwi, but in fact he wasn't the first Group 1 winner you had in Australia.
No, I rode a horse for, I think I won the Hawke's Bay Cup on him, horse called Four Crowns.
Yeah.
And Dave Enright, him and the owners decided we'd take him across to Brisbane for the Brisbane Cup 2 mile.
Big call for you to go over as a young apprentice, just at, as that
I just sort of, I was still apprentice then, and look, it was a great thrill because Dave Enright was a great supporter of mine, and we had a lot of luck together early, and the opportunity to go. Obviously, I was very nervous going to the Big Smoke in Brisbane to ride against all the guns, and but look, it was a great thrill. I was riding against then the Dittmans, Peter Cooks and Malcolm Johnson. I actually beat Malcolm a nose in the cup on Granite King, I think it was, run second. So
I love you, Jock. Have you got a scrapbook? Do you keep scrapbooks? No,
I did.
Yeah.
Vic keeps a lot of the articles now, whether they're good or bad. She keeps them.
Okay.
The book will be good one day.
Hey, I'm looking forward to that. Noel Harris wrote a book, was a bestseller. Hey, listen, let's talk about the horse, which really cemented you into folklore history. The horse as well, Kiwi. Beautiful name that he should have a name like that. You run a hack race at Stratford on him, did you, something like that?
Well, funny enough, Diane Mosley rode him his first couple of runs. And I seen him run at Wanganui, and he come from last in a 13.50, I think it was, and rattled home. And I said to Patrick, I said, geez, I'd love to get on this horse. And so I rang Snowy and said, look, I'd like to come and ride him. He said, well, he's running at Stratford next week. He said, you can come and ride him. Well, I was living in Hastings, and I thought, this is going to be a nice old trip. And I didn't have a car at the time because I was still an apprentice. And Patrick owned a big, dirty, great big V8 Charger. So I said, look, could I borrow the car and drive to Stratford?
And some petrol money.
And some petrol money. And about 6 cushions off the couch so I could see over the steering wheel. So off to Stratford we went, and he actually run second. He got beat. I think they run 1.9.5 in the 1200 there, and flashed home, and then it sort of snowballed from there. He went on and won some great races.
Wellington Cup, 83, remember?
Oh yeah. That was a great thrill. Just flicking back, we'd go and play rugby, and then off to Trentham we'd go, and I used to sit up the top in that big grandstand, the Millard stand or something it was called then.
You see that, great enough for the
and I used to sit up there, and I remember sitting there watching Morris Campbell win on guest star and old Grey Way going round. And
Uncle Remus, I remember.
Uncle Remus, and to go there and watch and then come out and ride what I thought outside the Melbourne Cup was the greatest race in New Zealand, to watch the Wellington Cup and to win it. I think
you've come from a mile back here.
Yeah, look, that was his racing pattern. He just used to love to get back, and he come through the middle of the stay. I got up and beat Greg Charles on Marita. Yeah, look, he was
right on there, and you can hear the voice of Peter Kelly in the background. He just got up right on the lead, timed it beautifully.
On the line. Yeah, look, he was. I love the horse. He was so relaxed, and what a story. Anne Lupton wanted a chestnut from the sales. She wanted it by Bellani Kiss, and they bought him for $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah,
that's the story's full of those. I mean, Bone Crusher, 3,250. I mean,
exactly.
That's what keeps us going.
That's what keeps. That's the highs and lows. I always say, even to today, you can spend $1 million, you can spend $500,000, or you can spend $5,000. Look at Takeover Target, these sort of horses. So there's no rule to it. Breeding's not everything.
There's not. First Tuesday in November, Kiwi. You're out there to ride. Wasn't your first ride in the Cup, though?
No, I actually rode Amaranth the year before for George Hanlon.
Okay.
And I remember it, I think it was going past Chiquita Lodge, about the 1,000 metre mark or the 800. He was going backwards that year when I was on Kiwi, and he actually bled. And I was thinking to myself, I'm glad I'm not on him this year.
Yeah, he was. There you dropped out again on Kiwi. Just that's his way he's going. Just let him go. But you got a long way from him.
We actually talked prior to the race Snow and Ann and myself, and actually on the Monday I went out and met Snow and Ann at Flemington. He said, "Oh, we'll come out and have a look at the track." So we went out and had a look at the track. And I remember Bill Skelton always saying, "You need that blummy little birdie on your shoulder to have luck in this game." Well, honestly, we walked out by the winning post in the members' enclosure there at Flemington, and there was this little bird flapping around with one wing. So I went running over and I picked it up, took it over by the winning post, and I put that blummy little birdie on my shoulder. This is a true story.
Yeah, I
Snow and
appreciate
Ann were
that.
there, and I went and put it down by the winning post, and I looked up and I thought, tomorrow might be my day. And the rest was history.
Gee, it was history. Miles off him.
Yeah.
Here we are. This is how far back you are. Nobody wins Melbourne Cups from here. Did you ever ask Snowy what he was thinking at that stage?
Well, nothing really worried Snow. I could imagine him sitting in that big grandstand at Flemington, puffing on his roll around, thinking, yeah, well, we're only at the 600. He's got 600 to go.
Yeah. Waiting for the clock tower?
Waiting for the clock tower. Well, it was funny because when he won his last race at Hara, I ran into the late Eric Temperton prior to going to Melbourne, and Mr. Temperton said to me, he said, "Look, Jimmy," he said, "I won a Melbourne Cup there with Silver Knight, and ridden by Marshy, and he said to me, just ride him the same, have him wound up coming at the clock tower, and he said if he's good enough, he'll do the rest." And we planned it pretty much to perfection.
Geez, he won it with his ears pricked in the
Yeah,
air.
he did, didn't he? And funny enough, before the race, you know, naturally I was a little bit nervous, the second Melbourne Cup and being on Kiwi, and they have a parade up the straight prior to the Cup, a couple of races before, and Bobby Skelton was meant to do it, but he was crook. So he come and asked me, he said, "Jimmy, would you like to do it?" And I thought, what a great opportunity to just get a little bit relaxed and get amongst the crowd and be out on the track and that sort of thing. So we're up the top of the straight ready to do the parade, and Roy Higgins was there. And I thought, what a great opportunity to talk to a legend about the Melbourne Cup. So I said to Roy, I said, "Oh, look, Mr. Higgins," I said, "can you give me any pointers about the Melbourne Cup?" He goes, "Yeah, son," he goes, "you know, the main thing is get as close to the rail as you can by the time you get to the 2,000 metre mark going out of the straight." So I said, "Oh, I won't have to worry there, Mr. Higgins." I said, "I'll be last." So he sort of looked at me and said, "Oh, well, that's good. At least you're going to be close to the fence." And then he said, "Well, when you get to the 2,000, to the 1,000 metre mark," he said, "you've got to be watching out for the horses coming back that can't run 2 mile, and you don't really want to have them to be checked if you're going to be sort of that far off." And I said, "Oh, I won't have to worry, Mr. Higgins." I said, "I'll probably still be last." He sort of looked at me and he said, "Well, you know, the very important part," he said, "is at the 600. He said, "because they're running into brick walls if they can't run the 2 miles, so you don't want to be getting impeded once again." I said, "Oh, I won't have to worry, Mr. Higgins." I said, "I'll still be last." And he must have looked at me and thought, "Who's this cocky little shit thinking, asking me these questions? Did he say he's going to be last in the Melbourne Cup?" And he said, "Well, once you're straight for home," he said, "what do you think you're going to do then?" And I said, "Well, I'll probably be last, looking to come, you know, sort of through and save a bit of ground." And I said, "I want to be getting them at the clock tower." And I sort of seen him raise his eyebrows thinking, "Oh, yeah, good luck, son," you know. And as it was, that planned out. I was last. We get to the clock tower, we're wound up. And then Clem Dempsey was the caller of the Cup that year on Channel 10, I think it was. And I remember Roy, he was up in the commentator's box. And he said to Clem, he said, "You wouldn't believe it." He said, "I interviewed that cocky little Jim Cassidy asked me prior to the Melbourne Cup where, you know, a few pointers, and he said he was going to be last." He said he made an outlandish statement thinking that he was going to be last and still win the Cup. I wasn't worried about what I said, but I couldn't work out what outlandish meant, so I had to go to the dictionary and see what it meant.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is Hall of Famer Jim Cassidy. We're after this break for more on the life and times of this wonderful jockey.